when I found Ayurveda, not only I found Ayurveda, but Ayurveda multiplied by 1,000 everything that I knew. So Ayurveda can explain modern medicine, but modern medicine cannot explain Ayurveda. When a modern doctor learns Ayurveda, there is an explosion.
Namaste. It's a great pleasure to introduce a well-known neurologist turned to Ayurvedic clinician, Dr. Antonio Morandi, born and brought up in Italy and had a great profession in neurology in the United States and worked for Ayurveda for more than 25 years. Namaste.
Namaste.
So, you're born and brought up in Italy with a unique background. You had been to modern education, modern medical science as a neurologist. So how was your life that time and what made you to turn into Ayurveda?
My life has always been devoted to research. From when I was a child, I remember that when I was 6 years old, I asked as a gift a microscope. So from that time on, I've always been devoted to research, between biology, physics, mathematics, this kind of things. Then university, medicine, and neurology, because I always been interested in how we create a relationship with the reality, and now we lose this relationship with the reality, for example, when we have a neurodegenerative disease like an Alzheimer. And in fact, in this kind of diseases, what I was specializing, because when I was in the United States, I was working in this kind of disease: Alzheimer's, peak disease, Parkinson's disease. Diseases in which there is a loss of sharing of the perception of the reality.
Mm-hmm.
And but I realized after a while that this was not enough. There was something missing. The complexity of our mind, the complexity of our brain, the complexity of our biology, it was too much to be, framed in names and definitions. I needed something else. I needed an epistemology that could help me in understand the relationship that there were between all the items that compose reality.
Generally, when somebody becomes a very established clinician, that too in a neurology-like thing, their mind setup will be always towards, as you rightly mentioned, towards the research, towards the progression of the medical science. And what made you to turn into traditional systems? That too in Ayurveda, which is might have been never heard this word in those periods.
Actually, everything started from from one day. This is a story. It's one simple day that changed your life. It happens in many lives like this.
That's true.
In that time, I was in the United States and I was working in neuropathology, and I was in charge of the cell lab culture, the cell culture lab. So we had in vitro models of many diseases. And one day that I was looking at these cells, I realized that when you take a piece of an organism, you take a piece of a liver, a piece of an heart, a piece of skin, and you put in a petri dish, after a couple of days, they lose the three-dimensional structure. They grow flat. These cells are very healthy, they save their own identity, but they lose, the shape that in some way is related with their function. So I was asking, what is missing here? Everything is perfect. Why they are losing? And in that day, an answer came in my mind. What is missing is the rest of the poor animal that I used for this experiment.
True, very true. That's true.
So I needed something else. From that moment on, the organ was not enough for me anymore. So I needed to find an epistemology, a science that was helping me in understanding how the relationship give shape to reality.
Okay.
Because the organs are like we see them because of their function, is not the opposite. Modern medicine believe in the opposite, that the shape is define the function, while Ayurveda, is that the function define the shape. And from that moment, I was practicing yoga from when I was 18, so I had the yoga already, but I didn't realize immediately. So I went all over, in homeopathy, traditional Chinese medicine, psychotherapy, so trying to find a new way of looking at reality. And then I found Ayurveda, and that was love at the first sight. I understood in that moment, this is what I need, this is what I want. And the funny thing is that when I found Ayurveda, not only I found Ayurveda, but Ayurveda multiplied by 1,000 everything that I knew. In one moment, everything that I knew was multiplied by 1,000. So I was not losing or missing just a single word or concept of my being a modern doctor, but everything was improved.
Okay.
Because there is not any kind of opposition between modern medicine and Ayurveda.
So which means to say that if a modern doctor learn Ayurveda, it's not turning from another system, rather it is expanding in the existing system too.
Absolutely. Because modern medicine is based on chemistry.
Yeah.
Chemistry is made out of molecules, atoms. It's made out of objects.
Yes.
That have some kind of relationship, but it's made out of objects. Ayurveda is based on physics. Physics is the relationship on which the object are put in relationship. So physics is inclusive and include also chemistry. So Ayurveda can explain modern medicine, but modern medicine cannot explain Ayurveda.
Okay.
And this means that I'm not saying that modern medicine is wrong. I'm saying that modern medicine is very valid, but is on another level, on a more exclusive level. At the more inclusive level, there is Ayurveda. For this reason, I'm telling you that when a modern doctor learns Ayurveda, there is an explosion in the knowledge. And this is very, very important.
I started to study Ayurveda because in Italy, with my job in the past, I felt the sensation that something is missing in what I was doing. And so I decided to find something that give me more information, more knowledge to do better my job. And in the allopathic medicine, I couldn't find it. So I'm just a yoga practitioner, so I just have listened something about Ayurveda, and I decided to start this study program. This experience is fantastic, of course, and every day I am surprised, and also I make a lot of discovering of new knowledges. And sure is possible a real contact interaction between allopathic medicine and Ayurvedic medicine, because they are not similar. Ayurvedic is the base and after we can interact with the new technologies and knowledges. But it's a very important part to do a correct diagnosis, a correct therapies, and also what is very fascinating is the ecological function of Ayurvedic medicine, because in our days we have a lot of problems with pollution and so on, everyone knows, and this kind of medicine respect the earth, respect water, respect so human beings, and so it's fantastic.
So after a long career, when you turned to Ayurveda from last 25 years, of course, there are a lot of people start learning Ayurveda, but what made you to start an institute, to have a training center? Of course, there are possibilities that you could become an Ayurvedic doctor learning under somebody and to have a small own practice or something. Rather, you have changed it differently to start an Ayurvedic school, that too in Milano. So what made you to have that type of thought?
You know, there is the personal tendency of teaching. I like to teach.
Okay.
Then there was the meeting with Carmen, that she is the other side of what I'm doing as Ayurvedic doctor, no?
Yes.
All the therapies, Ayurvedic physical therapy. And then there is the will to share with other people what has been this revelation to me. The fact that you can live in a different way, the fact that you can see reality in a different way. And it's so important, this, because we live in a world where every day we are more and more detached from our own nature. And the fact that Ayurveda, with very simple advice, can help each of us to regain this connection with our real nature is something that is much more than what we can ask.
Yes.
And so this started the idea of the school.
So it started in 2002?
2001.
2001.
2001, yes. In 2002 started since, Ayurvedic Point has been founded in the 4th of December of 2001.
Okay.
So the real courses, they start in 2002.
Yes, yes.
But in 2001, yes, it's 21 years.
21 years. It's a long period.
Yes, very long.
And probably you might have trained in more than 500 people.
Yes, more than that.
More than that.
Yes.
And how was your experience, at least also in Italy, in these 20 years, how things has been changed, how the people's receptibility of this Ayurvedic system?
I can answer to this question from two perspectives. One perspective is the patient perspective.
Yes.
Another is the student perspective.
Yes.
From the patient perspective, it has been some kind of fulfilling something that was desired, but no one knew how to request.
Okay.
No? And the more that Ayurveda is diffusing, the more the people realize that they found in Ayurveda the way they want to be cured and the way they want to take care of themselves. And so, there is an increased interest in Ayurveda in these 20 years, huge.
Okay.
And instead from the side of the students, there has been an always increased level of the students that reach our school. We have a very selected criteria to admission. Not everyone can come in our school because we have, some kind of, interview in which we realize if a person is really committed or not. And in these years, there will be a higher and higher awareness. And so I can say that now the students that each year start the school, they have of a higher level than the students of the year before. They have, much more awareness. They have education from other schools. So they come to our school with already an education in Ayurveda.
Also, I heard that your institute is also acknowledged by Department of Ayush.
Yes.
Also, you are part of WHO working group.
Yes.
So, can you just brief about that also? Like you are representing like an ambassador of Ayurveda in Italy, something
Yes,
like that.
actually, I have to say that probably Ayurvedic point is more known outside Italy than in Italy. Yes, because we have the great privilege to be an info cell of Ayush, and then myself, I am, in 3 different working group of WHO for benchmark for training, benchmark for practicing Ayurveda, and the terminology in Ayurveda. These have been, incredible steps taken by the Ayush government, by the Indian government through Ayush, and the WHO for the diffusion and acknowledgement of Ayurveda.
Also, what I know is you also made an international conference in Milano.
Oh,
in
yes.
this 20 years, I think you made 2-3 times.
Yes, one was here in Thrissur.
One was also in Thrissur.
Yes, but the first and the third has been in Milano, 2009, 2016.
So how was your relationship with SNA? When it started, and can you just brief about your visit to India, first time for this, finding a good partner?
The only thing that I can say is that I could, if I could do what everything I did, it was because of SNA. Really. SNA has always been, our blessing, because we had the first contact in 2002.
2002.
And then we were really surprised, honored, confused even by the fact that we have been in some way accepted as students by, these Ashtavaidian families, Ayurveda Narayanan Nambi. And for us, it has been always in this year a guide and then spiritual advice, practical advice, and we could have not done anything without SNA. Actually, I have to say that Ayurvedic point, if Ayurvedic point exists, is because of SNA.
In these 20-25 years now,
Yes.
Ayurveda has also changed a lot.
Yes.
Even inside India,
Yes.
also outside. Maybe 25 years before, there was only few names like Maharshi, or few names were there in this. So, from a Westerner, how do you look India as a growing in the growth of Ayurveda, or the academic, or the research? How do you look? How you perceive it?
India is always the homeland of Ayurveda, even if Ayurveda is for mankind, and you can decline Ayurveda everywhere in the world. But the homeland is India. So every time I think about India, I think about, of course, as a homeland for Ayurveda, but also for many things which are the basis of civilization all over the world. The problem is that sometimes there is the tendency to become, for Ayurveda, but sometimes there is the feeling that Ayurveda, in some perspective, feel in some way as a lesser brother than modern medicine, which is not true. Not true. And so there is maybe an excessive westernization of Ayurveda. Ayurveda, of course, has to be contextualized. Classic texts, they have to be contextualized to our times. They have to be modernized.
Yes.
But of course, they don't have to lose their identity. And this is something that is very important to keep in mind, because you know, the tendency of the West is to bend things that are not known to what is known. While it should not be like this, because if there is something that you don't know, you have to learn it, not try to understand it your own way.
Yeah.
And this tendency of the West is I sometimes see here in India, because too many Ayurvedic doctors want to be accepted in the West. But Ayurveda has not to be accepted. Ayurveda has to be as it is. So, you know, what we have to do, I think, is to bring on the dignity of this huge knowledge at the same level of any other knowledge. And not just to follow a model, the model of, you know, of biomedicine. Biomedicine is fantastic, it works, it's great, but it's modern medicine. It follows an epistemology. We can find, you know, an interface between modern medicine and Ayurveda that works wonderfully. But modern medicine cannot bend Ayurveda to the modern medicine epistemology. Or Ayurveda cannot take the epistemology of modern medicine and make it its own.
So you mean to say there's no conflict of interest?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But of course, you have to be humble enough to admit that the other one, you know, is at your same level.
Because you know, whenever people choose an option for Ayurveda, like they will think that okay, that medical system is failed or not able to handle, then people turn. But not necessarily. Sometimes it's also possible that there are medical system can work together. Maybe not like an integration, or we should say it's like a relationship between multiple systems, because I think the patient is the patient-centric, not the system.
Absolutely.
What do you think about it?
Yes, absolutely. The patient is at the center.
Beneficiary.
Yes, we have to find a way to get the best for the patient. And actually, a few years ago, I proposed the new concept of collaborative medicine and science. No?
Yeah.
Is a new concept in which you try to find the commonalities, not the differences, the commonalities between system of knowledge. And then, through these commonalities, you work in transmitting knowledge from one knowledge to the other without melting them, because if you melt them, you lose everything. But if through the commonalities you can create this kind of interfacing, and you can get wonderful results. And you know, and the end of this is great benefit for the patient.
Okay. I think it was really a wonderful time that we have a great neurologist turned to Ayurvedic. I should say not neurologist, I should say a Ayurvedic clinician from Italy, who joined us and who spoke a lot about his passions, visions and future of Ayurveda. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Nambi. Thank you.